Black MAID sends photo of pregnancy test to her boss by mistake. Unaware he's the billionaire who will protect her, but she'd only meant to send the photo to Deidre, her best friend since childhood. One wrong tap on her cracked phone screen, and the image went straight to Nathan Sterling, her employer, hotel magnate, and a man who barely acknowledged her existence during the 6 months she'd cleaned his Houston penthouse. What secret of yours would be most devastating if discovered? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The pregnancy test trembled in Alana's hands as her phone buzzed with his message. Where are you right now? Don't move. And she realized with horror that her deepest secret now belonged to the most powerful man she'd ever met. Alana Mason sank to the cool marble floor of the penthouse bathroom, her maid's uniform crinkling against the heated tiles. 2 pink lines. Unmistakable. Undeniable. Her future, already hanging by threads, now completely unraveled. She'd only meant to send the photo to Deidre, her best friend since childhood. One wrong tap on her cracked phone screen, and the image went straight to Nathan Sterling, her employer, hotel magnate, and a man who barely acknowledged her existence during the 6 months she'd cleaned his Houston penthouse. This can't be happening, she whispered, watching 3 dots appear as he typed another message. Stay where you are. I'm coming up. Panic surged through her body. Mr. Sterling wasn't supposed to return until tomorrow. He was never home on Thursdays. That's why she'd risked taking the test here instead of the cramped apartment she shared with 2 other hotel employees. Alana scrambled to her feet, hastily shoving the test into her pocket. Her reflection in the gold-framed mirror showed wide eyes and flushed cheeks. She looked guilty, terrified, like someone with everything to lose. And she was. No health insurance, no family support, no father for this baby. Just memories of one reckless night 3 months ago with a charming stranger whose name she'd only learned later from news headlines about his death. The elevator would be too risky. Alana grabbed her small duffel from the supply closet and headed for the service stairs. If she moved quickly enough, she could be on the bus to Louisiana before Mr. Sterling even reached the penthouse floor. She'd been saving for night classes, scraping together tips, and extra shifts. Those savings would now pay for her escape. Start over somewhere new. Again, her phone buzzed once more. A new message chilled her blood. I've alerted security. All exits are watching for you. How could he? The employee tracking app. The one required for all Sterling hotel staff. Alana's hand flew to her mouth as she realized. He could see her exact location within the building. Still, she had to try. The stairwell door closed silently behind her as she descended, floor after floor, heart pounding harder with each step. 26 floors later, breathless and lightheaded, she pushed through to the parking garage. The memory of that night flashed unbidden. Strong hands moving across her skin in darkness, warm lips against her neck, her rare moment of abandon with a stranger whose eyes reminded her of ocean depths. One night to feel something real after years of struggling alone. Now this. As the garage door opened to the exit ramp, a sleek black Bentley idled directly in her path. The rear window lowered with electronic precision, revealing Nathan Sterling's steel-gray eyes locked onto hers. His expression revealed nothing. Not anger, not judgment, just intense focus that made her feel stripped bare. Get in, he said, not a request, but a command that vibrated through her entire body. Have you ever sent a message to the wrong person that changed everything? What secret of yours would be most devastating if discovered? The moment Alana's fingers slipped on her phone screen, her entire future shifted into the hands of a man who possessed the power to destroy her. Or perhaps, though she couldn't know it yet, save her from dangers she never imagined existed. The billionaire and the maid sat in suffocating silence as his car cut through Houston traffic. 2 strangers connected by an accidental message and an unborn child that would force them both to confront buried truths. Alana pressed herself against the door, creating maximum distance between them in the plush leatherback seat. Nathan Sterling hadn't spoken since she'd reluctantly entered his car. He sat perfectly still, one hand resting on his knee, the other holding his phone, occasionally typing messages without looking at the screen. His driver navigated through downtown Houston with practiced ease, heading away from the Sterling Tower, away from the bus station where freedom waited, away from any place Alana recognized. "Mr. Sterling, you were leaving." His voice cut through the silence, cool and precise. Without notice, she squared her shoulders, dignity the only defense she had left. "I plan to call Human Resources tomorrow." With a pregnancy announcement? His eyes flicked to her still flat stomach, then back to her face. Heat rushed her cheeks. "That's not your concern. It became my concern when you sent me evidence of your condition." He slid his phone across the seat, showing her accidental message displayed on his screen. "That was a mistake. I never meant..." Clearly, for the first time, something like emotion crossed his face, a flicker of what might have been understanding. "Regardless, we need to discuss your situation." Alana's hand moved protectively to her stomach. "I don't need anything from you, Mr. Sterling." "Nathan." He glanced at his driver, then pressed a button that raised a privacy partition. "If we're discussing your pregnancy, you might as well use my first name." The car slowed, pulling into the downtown bus terminal. Alana's heart leaped. He was letting her go after all. "Your bus to Baton Rouge leaves in 20 minutes, Nathan said, checking his watch. "Enough time for me to make my offer." Her eyes widened. "How did you know where?" "I know everything about my employees, Alana, including that your aunt in Baton Rouge died last year, leaving you with no actual family to return to." Cold fear trickled down her spine. Who was this man who knew details of her life she'd never shared with anyone at the hotel? "What do you want from me?" she whispered. Nathan's expression shifted, something haunted moving behind his eyes. "I want to help you." "Why would you care about a pregnant maid?" "Because I've seen this before." His voice dropped lower, and it ended with a funeral I still visit every month. Through the window, Alana watched her bus pull into its bay. Passengers began lining up, tickets in hand. Freedom just steps away. "Mr. Sterling, Nathan, I appreciate whatever misplaced concern you have, but my situation is my responsibility." "Is the father involved?" The question landed like a physical blow. "He's dead." Something shifted in Nathan's expression, recognition, then calculation. "What was his name?" "Why does that matter?" "Humor me." "James Harrington," she said, watching Nathan's face closely. "I only learned his full name from the news reports about the car accident." The color drained from Nathan's face. His composed exterior cracked, revealing raw emotion that disappeared so quickly Alana almost believed she imagined it. When he finally spoke again, his voice had dropped to a whisper. 5 years ago, I lost someone. She was pregnant with my child." The air between them charged with electricity as his next words changed everything. "And now her brother wants you dead too." Have you ever had a stranger share information that turned your world upside down? That moment when you realize everything you thought you knew was only half the truth? Tell me in the comments how you'd react if someone revealed your unborn child was connected to a dangerous past you never knew existed. The father of her baby was dead, murdered 3 months ago, and as Nathan explained the connections, Alana realized her unborn child had inherited not just genes, but a death sentence. Murder. Alana's voice cracked. The news said car accident. The news reported what Victor Harrington paid them to report. Nathan's jaw tightened. Victor orchestrated his own brother's death to look like an accident. The Bentley glided through Houston streets, now heading towards Sterling Tower again. Alana barely noticed the familiar buildings passing by, her mind struggling to process Nathan's words. "You're saying the uncle of my baby is a murderer? That he killed his own brother?" Victor Harrington has destroyed everyone who stood between him and control of Harrington Pharmaceuticals. His brother James was the latest obstacle. But why would he want to harm me? I never even knew James's full name until after. She stopped, unable to finish. Nathan's gaze softened slightly. James Harrington wasn't just my business partner's son. He was the younger brother of Catherine Harrington. The name hung in the air between them. "Your fiancé," Alana whispered, Memories of tabloid headlines from years ago suddenly clicking into place. The one who died under mysterious circumstances while pregnant with my child. Nathan's voice remained steady, but his knuckles whitened as he clenched his fist. Victor blamed me, said I pushed her to take her own life. Did you? The question escaped before Alana could stop herself. Nathan's eyes met hers, cold with rage, then surprisingly, respect for her boldness. No, but Victor made sure the world questioned whether I had. The car pulled into the private garage beneath Sterling Tower. Alana felt trapped, overwhelmed by revelations that transformed her simple pregnancy into something dangerous. If what you're saying is true, why haven't you gone to the police? Victor owns half the police department and enough judges to ensure nothing sticks. I've spent 5 years gathering evidence against him. The elevator doors opened directly into Nathan's penthouse. Alana hesitated before stepping inside, acutely aware she was entering not as an employee, but as something entirely different. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a Houston skyline that suddenly seemed filled with invisible threats, the city lights blurring through tears she refused to let fall. You believe Victor might target me because I'm carrying his nephew's child? Nathan moved to the bar, pouring water into a crystal glass. I know he will. Victor's obsession with controlling the Harrington bloodline borders on madness. Once he discovers your pregnancy, how would he find out? The same way I discovered your connection to James. My security team has been tracking Victor's movements since Catherine's death. He's been watching you since James died. Alana sank onto the edge of a white leather sofa, suddenly dizzy. This can't be happening. I am sorry. Nathan handed her the water glass, their fingers brushing. The unexpected gentleness in his touch sent an electric current up her arm. But I can't protect you. Why would you? I'm nothing to you. Nathan turned toward the windows, his profile sharp against the night sky. That baby you're carrying? It's the only living connection to the family I lost. Catherine, our unborn child, and now James. His voice roughened. I couldn't save them, but I can save you both. He crossed to his desk, retrieving a document folder. When he placed it on the glass table between them, Alana saw the title that made her breath catch. Marriage of Convenience. This is insane, she whispered. No, not tan counter. This is the only way I can legally provide you with complete protection. How far would you go to protect someone connected to your past? What sacrifices would you make for a stranger carrying precious life? The contract before Alana offered safety wrapped in golden handcuffs, but refusing meant facing dangers alone that she never knew existed until this moment. She signed her name beside the billionaires, trading her freedom for protection, not knowing that the most dangerous threat wasn't the man hunting her, but the feelings developing for her pretend husband. You understand this is temporary, Nathan said, watching Alana's pen hover over the final page. Once the baby is born and Victor is no longer a threat, you'll receive the settlement outlined in Section 12. $3 million. Financial independence. A fresh start for her and her child, far from Houston and the Sterling Empire. All she had to do was pretend to be Mrs. Nathan Sterling for approximately 6 months. And if I want to leave before then? Alana asked, reading the clause about termination. You can't. Not without forfeiting protection and compensation. His tone softened at her expression. I need people to believe this is real, Alana. Victor must think the child is under my complete protection. The pen felt heavy in her hand. Why not just hire security guards? Why marriage? Because a wife has privileges no employee can claim. Medical proxy, access to private residences, legal standing. Nathan's eyes met hers directly. And because Victor respects only one thing, possession, the word made her skin crawl. I won't be possessed. No, but he needs to believe you are. Nathan leaned forward. This is theater, Alana. A performance for one specific audience member. She signed her name with a decisive stroke. Whatever this arrangement was, it offered better odds than running with no resources and a killer potentially tracking her. For hours later, a judge pronounced them husband and wife in Nathan's study. Bookshelves lined with first editions witnessed their union instead of friends or family. No white dress, no flowers, just legal documents and a single glass of sparkling cider Nathan provided, remembering her condition. The rings, Nathan prompted, opening a small velvet box. Alana gasped despite herself. The engagement ring held a diamond larger than she'd ever seen, surrounded by smaller sapphires. The wedding band matched perfectly. Isn't this excessive for a fake marriage? She whispered as he slid them onto her finger. Victor will be watching, Nathan replied, allowing her to place a simple platinum band on his hand. Every detail must suggest I've claimed you completely. After the judge departed, awkward silence filled the penthouse. Alana stood by the windows, rings catching the city lights, feeling the weight of her new identity. I prepared the guest suite for you, Nathan said, breaking the silence. Your belongings have been moved from your apartment. You pack my things? Alarm coursed through her. My assistant did. She was discreet. Alana wrapped her arms around herself. This doesn't have to be uncomfortable, Nathan added, noticing her discomfort. With all due respect, there's nothing comfortable about marrying a stranger who signs prenups thicker than novels. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Fair point. He showed her to a bedroom suite larger than her entire apartment. Cream-colored walls, king-size bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, and a bathroom with a tub she could practically swim in. My room is through there. Nathan indicated a connecting door. Locked from your side. I won't enter without permission. Alana nodded, relieved at the boundary. Get some rest, he said, moving toward the door. Tomorrow we'll need to establish our routine. Later, wrapped in a silk robe she found in her closet, Alana emerged from a shower to find Nathan in the hallway, clearly heading to his own bathroom. His eyes widened momentarily at the sight of her damp hair and bare shoulders before his expression returned to neutral. Good night, Alana, he said, voice slightly lower than usual as he quickly turned away. As she settled into the unfamiliar luxury of her new bed, her phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Nice ceremony, Mrs. Sterling. Enjoy it while it lasts. Someone had found her already, someone who had been watching. Would you enter a marriage of convenience if it meant protection for yourself and your child? What boundaries would you establish? Share your thoughts as Alana faces her first night as the wife of a man she barely knows, a man whose secrets might be as dangerous as the enemies outside. They presented themselves as the perfect power couple at the charity gala. His hand possessively at her lower back, her smile practiced to perfection, while assassins mingled among the champagne flutes, waiting for their opening. Remember, you adore me, Nathan murmured against Alana's ear as they entered the grand ballroom of the Four Seasons. We had a whirlwind romance while you worked in my New York property. I was so captivated, I brought you to Houston personally. Alana nodded slightly, desperately trying to appear comfortable in a midnight blue gown that had been delivered that afternoon. The designer dress hugged her still slender figure, offering no hint of her condition. Diamonds adorned her neck where yesterday there had been nothing but the thin gold chain from her mother. The ballroom's crystal chandeliers captured in each facet like her new reality, brilliant, expensive, and sharp enough to cut. Mrs. Sterling, what a delightful surprise. An older woman approached, eyes sharp with curiosity beneath her surgical perfection. Nathan never mentioned he was seeing anyone, let alone married. Helen, Nathan's arm tightened around Alana's waist. I'd like you to meet my wife, Alana. So secretive, Nathan. Helen's smile didn't reach her eyes. The board members were quite shocked by the announcement. I prefer privacy, he replied smoothly, especially regarding matters of the heart. Alana extended her hand with practiced grace, channeling every period drama she'd ever watched. Lovely to meet you, Helen. Nathan speaks highly of your charity work. Helen preened, momentarily appeased. As she moved away, Alana released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Not bad, Nathan whispered, but you're too tense. Try to relax. Easy for you to say. You're not wearing shoes designed by sadists. His low chuckle surprised her, warm and genuine compared to the practiced smiles he offered others. 1 hour. Then we make our excuses. The evening progressed in a blur of introductions and carefully rehearsed half-truths. Nathan kept her close, his hand never leaving her back, occasionally dropping to her hip in a gesture of possession that sent unwelcome heat through her body. "Dance with me," he said as the orchestra began a waltz. Everyone's watching. On the dance floor, Nathan pulled her closer than propriety allowed, his thigh occasionally pressing between hers as they moved. "You're drawing attention," he murmured against her ear. "Isn't that the point of this charade?" She challenged, even as her pulse quickened beneath his touch. "The point is to appear deeply in love, not scandalized by your husband's touch." His hand slid lower than it should, fingers spreading across the small of her back. Alana's body responded despite her mind's objections, leaning into him instinctively. "Better," he approved, his voice dropping to a rumble that vibrated against her chest. For a moment, she forgot this was performance. His cologne wrapped around her senses, his touch confident and claiming. When he gazed down at her, something shifted in his expression, calculation giving way to genuine heat that made her breath catch. "Nathan," she whispered, uncertain what she was asking for. The spell broke as his body suddenly tensed. Following his gaze across the ballroom, Alana saw a man watching them intently. Tall, distinguished, with the same chiseled features as the man in her memories from that night. "Victor," Nathan whispered, his grip tightening protectively. The crystal glass in Nathan's hand shattered as he spotted the man across the room. The brother of his dead fiancée, the uncle of Alana's unborn child, staring directly at her with cold calculation in his eyes. Champagne and blood dripped from Nathan's clenched fist. Servers rushed forward with napkins, creating momentary confusion. Nathan used the distraction to guide Alana toward a side exit. "We need to leave. Now. He's here for me, isn't he?" Fear tightened Alana's throat. "He's here to assess whether our marriage is real or convenient." Nathan's voice turned harsh with urgency. "And he just saw me look at you like a man in love, not a man in business." As security escorted them to the waiting car, Victor Harrington appeared at the ballroom entrance, raising his glass in mock salute. "This isn't over," Nathan muttered, shielding Alana with his body as they slid into the Bentley. "Have you ever pretended feelings that started becoming real? That dangerous territory where acting becomes truth? Drop a red heart if you've been there." As Alana and Nathan returned to their penthouse fortress, the lines between protection and desire begin to blur. But Victor Harrington has only just begun his game. The man who wanted her dead now offered her a fortune to disappear with the child, claiming Nathan Sterling was the real threat she should fear. 3 days after the gala, Alana stood in the Sterling Tower's marble lobby, waiting for the private elevator. Her new routine included morning walks through the attached shopping plaza, always with a security guard trailing discreetly behind. The small taste of freedom helped maintain her sanity in this golden cage. "Mrs. Sterling," the voice froze her mid-step. She turned slowly to find Victor Harrington standing 6 feet away, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that mirrored Nathan's typical attire. Up close, his resemblance to James was even more striking. The same jaw, the same piercing eyes that had once looked at her with desire now assessed her with calculated interest. "Security will be here any second," Alana warned, her hand instinctively covering her stomach. "Your guards are dealing with a small distraction." Victor smiled thinly. "We have approximately 90 seconds before they realize you're alone. What do you want?" "To offer you a choice Nathan Sterling never will." He extended a business card. $10 million. A new identity. A life far from Houston where you and my brother's child can live in peace. Alana didn't take the card. "Why would you help us when Nathan says you want us dead?" Victor's laugh lacked warmth. "Is that what he told you? That I'm a monster in this story?" He stepped closer. "Did he also tell you how my sister died? How she called me the night before, terrified of what Nathan would do if she left him?" Doubt crept like frost across Alana's certainty. Nathan said. Nathan Sterling built his empire by destroying anyone who opposed him. Victor cut in. "My sister. My brother. Now he's collected you. Another Harrington possession. The private elevator ding behind her. Relief flooded through Alana until she realized Victor seemed unconcerned by the arrival. Asked him about the lake house. Victor said his elevator doors slid open. Asked what happened the weekend before Catherine died. 2 security guards rushed through the lobby doors, spotting Victor immediately. He backed away, unhurried. Think about my offer, Mrs. Sterling. You're carrying the last of my family's bloodline. I want that child safe from everyone, including its self-appointed guardian. Nathan was waiting when Alana returned to the penthouse, his expression thunderous as security explained the encounter. He approached you directly. Nathan's voice remained controlled, but barely. In my building, he said you're the one I should fear. Alana watched Nathan's face carefully. That Catherine called him before she died, afraid of you. The security office transformed into a battlefield of accusations. Surveillance footage playing on multiple screens showing how easily Victor had penetrated Nathan's defenses, proving no place was truly safe. He's manipulating you, Nathan said, fists clenched at his sides. Catherine never called him. She left me a letter explaining why He stopped abruptly. What happened at the lake house, Nathan? His head snapped up, eyes blazing. What did he tell you? Nothing specific, just to ask you about it. Nathan slammed his palm against the desk, making Alana jump. In 3 strides, he crossed the room, backing her against the wall. His face hovered inches from hers, rage and pain warring in his expression. He told me you killed her, your fiancée, his sister. Alana forced herself to hold his gaze. Nathan's face drained of color. And you believed him? The painful truth hung between them. I don't know what to believe anymore. Something shifted in Nathan's eyes, hurt replacing anger. He stepped back, running a hand through his usually perfect hair. The lake house was where I proposed to Catherine, where we conceived our child. His voice roughened, where she told me the baby might not be mine. Alana's breath caught. Was it yours? I'll never know. She died before the paternity test results came back. Nathan looked away. Victor knows mentioning the lake house would make me lose control. That's why he did it. But doubt had taken root in Alana's mind. That night, she quietly packed a small bag, heart pounding as she disabled the security system using the code she'd memorized days earlier. Freedom waited beyond the penthouse door, but as she reached for the handle, Nathan's voice froze her in place. If you leave now, you'll never know the truth about your baby's father. When have you discovered someone wasn't who they claimed to be? How do you know who's telling the truth when everyone has secrets? Share your experience as Alana stands at the threshold between 2 versions of the truth, each offered by men with reason to lie. The truth spilled from Nathan like blood from a wound, about the woman he'd loved, the betrayal that killed her, and why Alana's unborn child represented both his greatest loss and unexpected redemption. Rain lashed against the penthouse windows as lightning illuminated Nathan's face in harsh bursts, his composed facade finally breaking as he handed her photos of the woman who died carrying his child. A woman whose smile echoed the one Alana had seen in her baby's father. Catherine was brilliant, Nathan said, voice hollow as Alana examined the photographs. Chief research scientist at Harrington Pharmaceuticals before Victor forced her out. She designed breakthrough treatments while her brother focused on profits. Thunder cracked outside, punctuating the heavy silence between them. We were together 3 years, planning our future. Nathan poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey, but didn't drink. Then she got pregnant. Alana sat across from him, her escape bag abandoned by the door. And you doubted the baby was yours? No, she doubted it. Bitterness edged his words. Catherine confessed she'd slept with someone else during a conference in Boston. She couldn't be certain who the father was. Did she tell you who? Nathan's laugh held no humor. No, but after her death, I discovered she'd been seeing James occasionally. Her own brother. Alana's hand flew to her mouth. James? My James. Half-brother, technically. Different mothers. Nathan finally took a swallow of whiskey. Victor and Catherine shared father. James came later from their father's second marriage. The pieces started falling into place. So, my baby could be related to your lost child. Cousins at minimum. half-siblings at most. Nathan set down his glass. Catherine killed herself 3 days after telling me about her infidelity. The official story was depression, but Victor spread rumors I'd threatened her, driven her to it. Did you? I was hurt, angry, said things I'll always regret. Nathan's knuckles whitened around the glass. But I never threatened her. Alana processed this information, weighing it against Victor's warnings. And James? How'd he really die? Car accident, as reported. But Victor had James's brake lines cut. Nathan pulled out his phone, showing her photographs of damaged vehicle components. My investigators found proof, but not enough for police to act on. Victor wanted full control of Harrington Pharmaceuticals. James stood in his way. Why would he kill his own brother? The same reason he'll try to control your child. Obsession with the Harrington legacy. Nathan moved to sit beside her, close but not touching. Victor can't have children, a medical condition. His entire identity revolves around being the head of the Harrington bloodline. The rain gentled outside, the worst of the storm passing. Nathan's revelation had similarly cleared the air between them, though uncertainty remained. I have an appointment tomorrow, Alana said quietly. The 20-week ultrasound. Nathan looked up, surprise crossing his features. Your 20 weeks? She nodded. They'll be able to tell the gender. Would you? He hesitated, vulnerability replacing his usual confidence. Would you want me to come with you? The question hung between them, weighted with implications. This wasn't part of their arrangement, wasn't necessary for appearances. This was something else entirely. Yes, she answered, surprising herself. I would. The next day, lying on the examination table with cold gel on her stomach, Alana felt oddly calm with Nathan standing beside her. The technician moved the wand across her belly, the rapid whooshing of the baby's heartbeat filling the room. Would you like to know what you're having? The technician asked. Nathan's hand found Alana's, warm and steady. She squeezed it without thinking. Yes, they answered in unison. It's a girl, the technician announced, pointing to the screen. See here? Perfectly healthy little lady. Nathan's grip tightened, his composure slipping to reveal raw emotion. When he looked down at Alana, the tenderness in his eyes made her heart constrict painfully. She'll have my protection forever, he whispered. What he didn't say, what Alana suddenly understood with startling clarity, was that once the baby arrived, her usefulness to Nathan would end. The contract stipulated her freedom after birth. The tenderness in his eyes wasn't for her. It was for the child connecting him to his past. Have you ever misjudged someone's pain? Discovered the villain in your story was actually fighting their own battles? Tell me about a time you saw beyond someone's walls as Alana realizes the man she's beginning to trust might be saving her only to claim the child she carries. The nursery appeared overnight. Walls the color of dawn, a hand-carved crib that cost more than her yearly salary. And something shifted in Alana as she realized this man wasn't preparing for a temporary arrangement, but building a home for her child. Alana stood in the doorway, stunned by the transformation. The room adjoining her bedroom suite had been empty yesterday. Now it held a complete nursery with furniture that looked handcrafted, stuffed animals arranged on floating shelves, and a rocking chair by the window overlooking the Houston skyline. Do you like it? Nathan's voice came from behind her. She turned to find him watching her reaction, an unusual hint of uncertainty in his expression. When did you do all this? I had the designer start after the ultrasound. They worked through the night. He stepped into the room, running his hand along the crib rail. The furniture is from family-owned workshop in Vermont. All non-toxic finishes naturally. Alana moved to the closest, opening it to find tiny dresses and soft pajamas already organized by size. This is too much, she whispered. It's not enough, Nathan countered. But it's a start. Something about his words, about the care evident in every detail of the room, made Alana's eyes fill with tears. Pregnancy hormones, she told herself. Nothing more. Thank you, she managed, blinking rapidly. Nathan stepped closer, his hand hovering near her shoulder before dropping back to his side. You should rest. You look pale. As if on cue, a wave of nausea hit her. Morning sickness had mostly faded by her 5th month, but occasionally returned with a vengeance. She swayed slightly, and Nathan's arm immediately circled her waist. "Bathroom," she gasped. He helped her across the hallway, holding her hair as she emptied her stomach. The intimacy of the moment should have been humiliating, but his quiet support offered no judgment, only concern. Morning sickness drove her to the bathroom floor, where cool marble pressed against her cheek until Nathan's strong arms lifted her, carrying her back to bed with a gentleness that contradicted every headline about his ruthlessness. "I'll have Rosa bring tea," he said, helping her settle against the pillows. "Stay?" Alana asked before she could stop herself. "Just for a minute." Nathan hesitated, then sat on the edge of the bed. "Better now?" She nodded, though exhaustion pulled at her. "I didn't expect this. The sickness. Any of it." She gestured vaguely. "The nursery. Your kindness." A small smile touched his lips. "I'm not always the monster the press makes me out to be. I'm starting to see that." Over the next week, their relationship shifted subtly. Nathan worked from home more often, taking calls in his office while Alana rested nearby on the sofa. They ate dinner together, discussing books and films instead of security measures. When her ankles swelled painfully one evening, he insisted on helping. "This isn't necessary," she protested as he lifted her feet onto his lap. "Humor me," he replied, his strong thumbs pressing into her arch. The moan that escaped her lips surprised them both. Nathan's hands stilled momentarily before continuing their ministrations, moving from her feet to her calves with careful pressure. "Better?" he asked, voice rougher than before. Alana nodded, hyper-aware of his touch, of the warmth spreading through her body that had nothing to do with pregnancy and everything to do with the man watching her with darkening eyes. His hands moved higher, massaging her knees, then her thighs through the thin fabric of her leggings. Each touch awakened nerve endings she'd forgotten existed. When his fingers brushed the inside of her thigh, her breath caught audibly. "Alana," he whispered, a question in her name. She answered by leaning forward, closing the distance between them until her lips touched his. For one heartbeat, he remained still. Then his hand cupped the back of her neck, deepening the kiss with a hunger that matched her own. "This wasn't part of our agreement," she whispered against his mouth when they finally broke apart. "Tell me to stop then," he challenged, hands paused at the hem of her nightgown. Her answer was to guide his hands higher, over the curve of her growing belly, to the fullness of her breasts. As passion built between them, the baby kicked sharply, making them both freeze then laugh softly against each other's lips. "Well, have you crossed a line you promised yourself you wouldn't? Was it worth it?" Share your moment of beautiful surrender in the comments as Alana discovers that the most dangerous part of her arrangement with Nathan isn't the man hunting them, but the feelings growing between protector and protected. With Nathan across the ocean, the enemy infiltrated their home, disguised as medical staff for her emergency appointment, and by the time she realized the trap, the needle was already in her arm. "Mr. Sterling insists we take every precaution with your blood pressure readings," the nurse explained, adjusting equipment in Alana's bedroom. "These home visits will save you trips to the clinic." Alana nodded, still drowsy from her nap. Nathan had left for London 12 hours earlier, an emergency board meeting he couldn't miss. 3 days, he'd promised, kissing her goodbye with newfound possessiveness. She'd received a text from Nathan's assistant confirming this medical visit, so she didn't question the Sterling Medical Group credentials or the professional manner of the nurse and her assistant. Only when the needle slid into her arm and an unfamiliar burning sensation followed did alarm bells ring. "That's not." Her tongue felt thick, words slurring. "What did you—" "Just relax, Mrs. Sterling." The woman smiled, her professional demeanor shifting to something colder. "The sedative won't harm the baby." Mr. Harrington was very specific about that. Consciousness slipped away despite Alana's desperate struggle to stay awake. Her last thought was of Nathan, thousands of miles away, unaware she'd been taken. She woke in darkness, her wrists bound to a chair with silk ties that spoke of wealth even in cruelty. As her vision cleared, soft lighting gradually revealed her surroundings. not a warehouse or basement as she'd feared, but an elegantly appointed study. Photos of Nathan's past surrounded her like a twisted museum exhibition. Comfortable, Victor Harrington stepped from the shadows, looking exactly as he had in the hotel lobby. Perfectly groomed, utterly civilized, and completely dangerous. The baby, Alana gasped, immediately checking for pain or bleeding. Is fine, as promised. Victor pulled up a chair to sit across from her. I'm not a monster, despite what Nathan has told you. Kidnapping suggests otherwise. Alana tested her restraints, tight but not painful, securing her to a padded leather chair. A necessary precaution. You've been rather difficult to speak with privately. Victor poured amber liquid into 2 crystal glasses, setting one near her. Water for you, of course. What do you want? The truth. Victor gestured to the photographs surrounding them. Nathan with Catherine, newspaper clippings about her death, images of James. Has Nathan told you everything about their deaths? He said you killed James. Cut his brake lines. Victor's laugh lacked humor. Of course he did. Easier than admitting James discovered Nathan's involvement in Catherine's death and confronted him. Doubt crept back into Alana's mind, despite her growing feelings for Nathan. You have proof. Would you believe anything I showed you? Victor countered. You're sleeping with him now. I know. I've seen you together. Heat rushed to Alana's face at the invasion of privacy. You've been watching us? I've been protecting my family's legacy. Victor's gaze dropped to her stomach. That child is the last Harrington. Nathan will discard you once she's born. You're just carrying his redemption. Despite her fear, Alana's laugh was genuine. You've never actually seen how he looks at me, have you? Something flashed across Victor's face. Frustration, perhaps even jealousy. I've seen enough men like Sterling use women like you. Men like you mean. Alana's courage surprised even herself. What happens when you get what you want? Will you lock me in a gilded cage too? Or just take my baby and eliminate the inconvenient mother? Victor leaned forward. I've already transferred $5 million to an account in your name. Passport, new identity, properties in 3 countries. All yours after delivery. In exchange for shared custody. The child splits time between us. And Nathan, Victor's expression hardened. Never sees her. A crash from somewhere in the house interrupted them. Victor rose swiftly, pulling a gun from inside his jacket. It seems we have company ahead of schedule. Shouts echoed down hallways, followed by the unmistakable sounds of fighting. Victor positioned himself behind Alana, gun pressed to her temple as the study door splintered inward. Nathan appeared like vengeance personified, security team flanking him, but the triumph in his eyes shifted to horror as her captor pressed the gun harder against her skin. I took 1 child from you already, Sterling, Victor snarled. Shall we make it 2? What would you do to protect someone you're falling for when their enemies target you? How far would you go to keep your child safe? Tell me your mama bear instincts below as Alana faces her most desperate moment, caught between 2 powerful men fighting over the life growing inside her. Blood stained the concrete floor, not hers but her captor's. As Nathan's fist connected again and again, the composed businessman transformed into a primal force that both terrified and mesmerized her. Enough. One of Nathan's security team finally pulled him back. He's unconscious, sir. Nathan stood over Victor's crumpled form, chest heaving, knuckles split and bleeding. The gun had skittered across the floor after Nathan had launched himself at Victor, moving with unexpected speed when Victor's attention had wavered for just a second. What followed had been brutal. Nathan fighting not with the calculated precision of a trained fighter, but with the raw fury of a man pushed beyond reason. Now he turned to Alana, still bound to the chair, his eyes gradually clearing as they focused on her. Are you hurt? His voice was rough, barely recognizable. She shook her head, unable to process the violence she'd just witnessed from a man she'd thought controlled every emotion with practiced precision. Nathan pulled a knife from his pocket, carefully cutting the silk ties binding her wrists. His hands, usually steady, trembled slightly against her skin. How'd you know? she whispered as he helped her stand. I never left for London. Nathan's arm circled her waist, supporting her unsteady legs. We suspected someone in my organization was feeding information to Victor. The trip was bait to draw them out. You used me as bait too, she realized, anger flaring. No, his grip tightened. I was watching the entire time. The moment those fake nurses entered, we tracked them here. Police and paramedics arrived within minutes, filling the lakeside mansion with activity. Victor was handcuffed to a gurney, still unconscious as he was loaded into an ambulance. Nathan refused to leave Alana's side, even as detectives questioned them separately. The hospital room gleamed with antiseptic brightness that couldn't quite wash away the shadows in Nathan's eyes as he kept vigil beside her bed, knuckles bandaged, suit replaced with casual clothes that somehow made him look more dangerous. The baby is fine, the doctor assured them after a thorough examination. But I'm recommending overnight observation for you, Mrs. Sterling. The sedative they used, while not harmful to the fetus, requires monitoring. After the doctor left, silence stretched between them. Alana watched Nathan staring out the window, his profile hard and unfamiliar in the harsh hospital lighting. You could have been killed, she whispered finally. His eyes met hers, unguarded for once. And you would have taken everything with you. The monitor beside her bed betrayed her racing heart. I don't understand you, she admitted. One minute you're the cold businessman who married me for convenience. The next you're beating a man unconscious with your bare hands to protect me. Nathan moved to her bedside, hesitating before sitting on the edge of the mattress. I don't understand myself lately. His damaged hands rested in his lap. Alana reached for them, gently tracing each bruised knuckle. Thank you for coming for us. Something shifted in his expression, vulnerability replacing the violence that had possessed him earlier. When she raised his hand to her lips, kissing each injured finger, his breath caught audibly. Alana, he warned, voice low. She ignored his caution, continuing her gentle ministrations. I was so afraid, she whispered against his palm. Not of Victor, of never seeing you again. The admission hung between them, changing everything. Nathan leaned forward, pressing his forehead against hers. When I saw his gun at your head, he murmured, something broke inside me. I can't lose you. Either of you. Hours later, sedatives pulled Alana towards sleep. Nathan had stepped into the hallway to speak with security, his low voice drifting through the partially open door. She tried to focus, catching fragments of his conversation. I don't care what it takes, he said, voice ice cold. By morning, I want full custody rights prepared for both the child and the mother. She doesn't leave my sight again. Consciousness faded before she could process his words, before she could question whether this was protection or possession, and whether the difference still mattered to her heart. Have you ever seen someone's darker side and loved them more for it? That moment when protection becomes something almost frightening in its intensity? Share your experience as Alana discovers that the man she's falling for might save her from her enemies only to claim ownership in a different way. The documents appeared at breakfast, custody agreements, amended marriage terms, financial arrangements that would bind her to him permanently. And something inside Alana rebelled against decisions being made without her consent, no matter how luxurious the prison. 2 days after returning from the hospital, Alana entered the dining room to find Nathan already seated, a stack of legal papers beside his coffee cup. His bruised knuckles had faded to yellowish green, the only visible reminder of his violent confrontation with Victor. Good morning, he said, rising to pull out her chair. The gesture, once part of their performance, now felt natural between them. How are you feeling? Better. She settled into her seat, eyeing the documents warily. What's all this? Protection. Nathan slid the papers toward her. Victor's being held without bail, but his lawyers are already maneuvering. These ensure he can never touch you, or our daughter. Our daughter. The possessive pronoun wasn't lost on Alana, nor was the fact that Nathan had prepared these documents without consulting her. You want to amend our marriage contract? She flipped through the pages, legal terminology swimming before her eyes. I want to make it real. Nathan's voice remained even, controlled. No expiration date. No settlement upon birth. A true marriage with shared custody of Emma. Emma? His confidence faltered slightly. I thought it was my grandmother's name. We can choose something else. It's beautiful, Alana said softly. But this, she tapped the papers, this isn't how partners make decisions. Nathan's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. It's the safest option. For who? Me, or your peace of mind? Security personnel now shadowed her every move. The penthouse enhanced with additional cameras. Her designer maternity clothes beautiful, but unable to disguise the growing feeling that she traded one captor for another. Both, he answered. Victor's influence extends beyond prison walls. His assets are frozen temporarily, but his network remains active. I need legal standing to protect you both completely. By owning us, Nathan's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. Is that what you think this is? What else should I think? Anger rose in her throat, surprising in its intensity. You make unilateral decisions about my future, about my body, about my child, our child, he corrected sharply. No, Alana stood, hands braced against the table. Biologically, she's mine and James's. Legally, with these papers, she'd be yours. What am I in this equation, Nathan? The convenient vessel. He rose to face her, something dangerous flashing in his eyes. You know it's more than that, do I? Because from where I stand, I went from Victor's captive to your possession without much difference except the thread count of my prison sheets. That's not fair, he growled, circling the table toward her. Fair? She laughed bitterly. Was it fair to hear you ordering custody papers for both the child and the mother while I was sedated? Making plans to control my life without my input? Nathan froze. You heard that? Yes. Her voice trembled with anger and hurt. I won't be owned, Nathan. Not by the man who took me, and not by you. His expression hardened, then crumbled. I can't lose you, either of you. Then don't treat us like possessions to be locked away. The distance between them vanished as Nathan pulled her against him, his mouth finding hers in a kiss that was equal parts anger and desperation. Alana's resistance lasted seconds before she responded, fingers digging into his shoulders, pouring her frustration into the kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Nathan pressed his forehead against hers. Tell me what you want, he whispered. I'll tear up every contract, fire every security guard, if that's what you need. I want a choice. Her hands framed his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. I want to stay because I choose to, not because legal documents trap me here. Later that night, their argument transformed into something else entirely, passion fueled by the day's emotional storm. In the darkness of her bedroom, Alana took control, pushing Nathan onto his back, claiming him as he'd tried to claim her. Is this what you want? She whispered, hovering above him. His hands settled on her hips, surrendering to her lead. Only if you choose it. Where's the line between protection and control in your relationships? When does caring become suffocating? Share your boundaries in the comments as Alana fights for autonomy while falling deeper in love with the man who saved her and might still be her greatest threat. The contractions began as she confronted him about his true intentions, her water breaking in a flood across the Italian marble while accusations hung in the air between them, neither knowing if their relationship would survive the night, even if the baby did. 4 weeks before her due date, Alana stood in Nathan's home office, holding a newspaper with the headline, Sterling Heir Expected, Billionaire's Strategic Marriage. What is this? She slapped the paper onto his desk, where a society columnist detailed their convenient arrangement, using quotes from sources close to the couple. Nathan glanced at the article, his expression carefully neutral. Tabloid speculation. Nothing more. Really? Because they seem remarkably well-informed about our original contract, about the settlement, about how once the birth certificate is signed, Sterling secures his future. He rose from his chair, reaching for her. Alana, don't. She stepped back, one hand protectively covering her belly. Just tell me the truth. Was this all about the baby? About having a Harrington heir under your control? No. His voice hardened. If I'd wanted that, I would have let Victor take you, then fought him for custody. Much cleaner legally. Then why? Why go through this charade? Why make me believe you were starting to care for me? Pain flashed across his features. It wasn't a charade. It's not. Then explain your assistant telling the event planner that once the birth certificate is signed, the prenup limitations expire, and you'll have what you want. Nathan's expression shifted from confusion to understanding. She was talking about the property in Vermont. I can't purchase it until after Emma's birth because it's tied to a trust that requires proof of an heir. Doubt crept into Alana's certainty. What property? The house I showed you pictures of last week. The one you said looked like a real home. He stepped closer. I've been planning to surprise you. To give us somewhere away from Houston, away from the memories of Victor and everything that happened. The fight drained from her as quickly as it had ignited, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I don't know what to believe anymore. A sharp pain cut through her abdomen, making her gasp. Nathan was at her side instantly, supporting her weight as her knees buckled. Alana, another contraction gripped her, this one stronger. Warm liquid gushed down her legs, spreading across the marble floor. My water, she managed through clenched teeth. It's too early. The delivery room transformed into a battleground of beeping monitors and urgent medical commands. Nathan's face ashen as doctors presented him with an impossible choice while Alana's consciousness faded in and out, her hand reaching for his despite everything. Her blood pressure's dropping, a doctor announced. We need to move now. The baby, Nathan demanded, showing signs of distress. We may need to choose. Alana fought against the medication, pulling her under. Nathan, she whispered, terror gripping her heart. His lips pressed against her forehead, his voice breaking as he spoke to the doctor. Save her. If it comes to a choice, Mr. Sterling, we need a decision now. Her. Always her. Those were the last words Alana heard before darkness claimed her. She woke to emptiness, her body no longer carrying life. The room silent except for monitors, Nathan nowhere in sight. When the nurse entered, her expression of practiced sympathy made Alana's blood run cold. Where's my baby? Where's my husband? The nurse approached, adjusting Alana's foreline. Your daughter is in the NICU. She's very small but fighting hard. She's alive. Hope bloomed through Alana's chest. Yes, but critical. Your husband hasn't left her side since they took her upstairs. Relief washed over Alana, followed immediately by longing. I need to see them. The doctor wants you to rest after the emergency C-section, the nurse warned. You lost a lot of blood. Please, Alana begged. I need to see my daughter. What would you choose in Nathan's position? The woman you've grown to love or the child you've waited for? Tell me what matters most when everything's at stake. As Nathan makes the decision that reveals his true priorities and his true heart. The tiny bundle in the NICU incubator fought for every breath. Just like her mother had fought for freedom. Just like Nathan now fought against board members demanding his attention while he refused to leave his daughter's side. A nurse helped Alana into a wheelchair, wheeling her through silent hospital corridors toward the neonatal intensive care unit. Each movement sent pain shooting through her surgical incision, but Alana barely noticed, focused only on reaching her child. Through the NICU windows, she spotted Nathan immediately. His tall frame bent over a small incubator, his usual perfect posture abandoned. He hadn't changed clothes since rushing her to the hospital 18 hours earlier. Mr. Sterling, the nurse called softly. Your wife is here. Nathan turned, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. When he saw Alana, something broke in his expression, relief and fear and love colliding into raw emotion. Alana. He crossed to her in 3 strides, kneeling beside the wheelchair. You should be resting. I needed to see her. Alana reached for his hand. The argument before her water broke forgotten in the face of their shared crisis. How is she? Small. His voice roughened. 4 pounds, 3 ounces. But the doctors say she's stronger than she looks. The nurse wheeled Alana to the incubator where their daughter lay, tiny, red, with tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped steadily. Through the openings in the incubator, Alana reached one finger to touch her daughter's miniature hand. "Emma," she whispered, "we're here." Nathan stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder. "She has your nose," he observed softly, "and definitely your stubbornness." The nurse said she keeps pulling out her monitors. A watery laugh escaped Alana's lips. "That's my girl." The NICU's harsh lighting softened when Nathan held their daughter for the first time, his massive fortune suddenly meaningless compared to the 5-pound miracle breathing against his chest, Alana watching from her wheelchair with tears tracking silently down her face. "She fits perfectly," Nathan marveled, cradling Emma with surprising confidence. Like she was made for these arms. 3 days passed in a blur of medical updates, brief visits to the NICU, and Alana's gradual recovery. On the 4th day, Nathan's assistant arrived with an armful of documents requiring his signature. "The London merger is falling apart without your presence," the young woman explained apologetically. "The board is threatening to move forward without you." "The board is threatening to vote you out," Alana said quietly after the assistant left. Nathan didn't look up from their daughter. "Let them. Some things can't be replaced." In that moment, Alana knew with certainty which Nathan was real, the ruthless businessman or the gentle father. She'd fallen in love with the right one. "They need you," she pressed gently. "You've worked years for this merger. They need signatures on paper. Natan carefully adjusted Emma's tiniat. That can happen from here." A week later, the doctors deemed Emma strong enough to go home. Nathan arranged for private nurses, special equipment, and everything they might need. But as they prepared to leave, he surprised Alana by directing the driver to take a different route from the one leading back to Sterling Tower. "Where are we going?" she asked, nestled in the back seat with Emma secured in her carrier between them. "I'm done with glass towers and boardrooms," he said, taking her hand. "There's something I need to show you. The future I want, if you'll choose it to." As the car turned onto a tree-lined street in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from downtown, Alana realized the choice ahead wasn't just about location, but whether their arrangement of necessity could transform into a life of love. What would you sacrifice for the people who matter most? Career? Status? Fortune? Share what you've given up for love, or what you would. As Nathan reveals whether he's truly capable of choosing family over the empire he built, and Alana decides if she can trust the change in the man who once saw her as part of a contract. The house overlooking the water wasn't a mansion, but a home. Photographs of her family mixed with his, a nursery painted by his own hands, and a simple bedroom where two people might build something true instead of something contractual. The car pulled up to a 2-story colonial house with a wide front porch and hydrangea bushes lining the walkway. Nothing like the sleek, modern penthouse where they'd lived for months. This house had character, history, and a for sale sign with sold plastered diagonally across it. "Is this?" Alana let the question hang in the air as Nathan helped her from the car, careful of her still healing incision. "Ours if you want it." He cradled Emma against his chest, the baby bundled in a soft pink blanket. "I closed on it last week." Alana followed him up the stone path, taking in the wraparound porch with its swing and rocking chairs. It looks like something from a dream. Inside, sunlight streamed through windows uncovered by curtains, the complete opposite of his penthouse fortress. Here there were no barriers, no tinted glass separating them from the world, just open space where secrets couldn't survive. "It needs work," Nathan admitted, guiding her through rooms that held basic furniture but little else. "But I thought we could decide together what it should become." He showed her each room, a study with built-in bookshelves, a kitchen with a breakfast nook overlooking the backyard, 3 bedrooms upstairs. The master suite featured a sitting area with a view of the small lake behind the property. Only the nursery was fully finished. Painted soft yellow with white furniture and a hand-painted mural of constellations spanning the ceiling. "You did this." Alana touched the tiny stars, amazed at the detail. "I had help with the astronomy part," Nathan admitted. "But yes, I painted it, while you were on hospital bed rest before Emma arrived." She turned to him, taking in the man who stood before her. Not the billionaire in tailored suits, but a father in jeans and a soft sweater. holding their daughter with gentle confidence. "Why?" she asked simply. Nathan placed Emma in the waiting crib, then led Alana to the window seat. "When Victor took you, I realized something. Everything I've built, the hotels, the empire, the wealth, none of it matters without people to share it with." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box and a folded document. "The papers on the table dissolve our arrangement," he said quietly. "You're free to go, with full support for you and Emma forever." Or his voice faltered, "You could stay not as my convenient wife, but as the woman I've fallen in love with." Alana opened the box to find a simple gold band, different from the flashy platinum and diamond set she currently wore. "I bought this the day after Emma's first ultrasound," Nathan explained. "Not for show, not for Victor or anyone else to see. Just for us, if you ever decided to choose me for real." Tears blurred her vision as she unfolded the document. Divorce papers, already signed by Nathan, needing only her signature to end their contract. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You're giving me freedom and asking me to stay in the same breath." "Yes." His hands covered hers. "Because it's not freedom if it's not a choice. And it's not love if it's bound by legal obligation." That night, after Emma was settled in her nursery with the night nurse watching over her, Alana led Nathan to the master bedroom. Their lovemaking was different, tender rather than urgent, a commitment rather than a claiming. Her body still showed signs of childbirth, but Nathan worshipped every inch, his touch reverent against the scar where their daughter had entered the world. "Is this real?" she whispered afterward, curled against his chest. His arms tightened around her. "As real as you want it to be. What matters more? A relationship built on passionate beginnings, or one that grows through challenges and choices? Tell me, which foundation lasts longer in your experience?" As Alana stands at the crossroads between freedom and a future with the man who began as her protector and became so much more. Their final confrontation happened not in a corporate boardroom or sterile penthouse, but on the wooden porch of their new home. Nathan standing before his family like a shield, Alana beside him not as a protected treasure, but as an equal partner, both ready to defend what truly mattered. The divorce papers remained unsigned on the kitchen counter 3 days after they moved into the lake house. Alana hadn't rejected them, but neither had she reached for a pen. Some decisions deserve time. Nathan resumed work from his home office, video conferencing with executives who clearly disapproved of their CEO's new priorities. Alana focused on Emma, who grew stronger daily despite her early arrival. They were settling into a new routine. Nathan making breakfast while Alana fed Emma, evenings spent on the porch watching the sunset over the lake. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real in a way their penthouse life never had. On the 4th evening, as they sat together on the porch swing, Nathan's phone buzzed with an alert. His body tensed as he read the message. "What is it?" Alana asked, immediately alert to his change in demeanor. "Victor." Nathan's voice was flat. "He's out on bail. His lawyers found a technicality." Fear coiled in Alana's stomach. "How is that possible?" "Money. Connections." Nathan was already typing instructions to his security team. "We need to—" "No." Alana placed her hand over his phone. "We're not running. Not this time." Nathan stared at her in disbelief. "He'll come here. You know he will." "Good." Her voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Let's end this. On our terms." The next morning, they didn't have to wait long. A black SUV pulled into their driveway shortly after breakfast. Nathan positioned Alana behind him as they stood on the porch, Emma safely upstairs with a security guard. Victor emerged from the car alone, looking thinner than when they'd last seen him. Prison, even briefly, had left its mark. "Quaint," he called, gesturing to the house as he approached. "Downgrading, Sterling. Private property, Harrington," Nathan replied coldly. "You're trespassing." Victor stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. "I just came to see my niece." "Family right. You have no rights here." Alana stepped forward, shoulder to shoulder with Nathan. "And you never will." Victor's gaze shifted between them, assessing. "You've made your choice then?" "Yes." Alana took Nathan's hand. "And you need to make yours. Leave us alone, or the evidence Nathan has been gathering goes public." All of it. Evidence. Victor laughed, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Nathan pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Catherine's last video testimony about your embezzlement. James's recordings of your threats. The offshore accounts where you've been hiding company assets. You're bluffing. Try me. Nathan's voice was deadly quiet. Walk away. Forever. Or lose everything. Victor's facade cracked, revealing the desperation beneath. That child is all that's left of my family. No, alana kerektiv. That child is the beginning of ours. Something in her words, in their united stance, seemed to deflate Victor. He looked suddenly older, defeated. You've won, Sterling. He turned toward his car, then paused. Take care of her. Better than I took care of mine. They watched his car disappear down the driveway, neither speaking until it was completely out of sight. Is it over? Alana whispered. Yes. Nathan pulled her into his arms. He knows when he's beaten. 1 year later, the sunset painted the water gold as they stood together on the anniversary of their first meeting. No longer maid and billionaire, victim and protector, but simply Alana and Nathan, watching their daughter take wobbly steps toward the future they built not from obligation, but from choice. When I sent that text by accident, I thought I'd lost everything, she whispered against his chest. His arms tightened around her, and I thought I'd never find anything worth having again. Their daughter's laughter carried across the lawn, the most beautiful sound in their world. From an accidental text to true love, what mistake turned into your greatest blessing? Share your story of how something that seemed like a disaster became the best thing that ever happened to you. Sometimes the wrong message reaches exactly the right person at precisely the perfect moment.